So, last week we looked at the wise and the foolish builders, and we learned that when we put our trust in God first and rely on Him, He'll be there for us in the hard times. So, Moses and the Israelites had to learn much the same thing in today's story. So, we shall get right into it. Here we go. Here are our little Israelites. See, God's people moved to Egypt way back when Joseph was working for Pharaoh. God wanted to protect them. Carlin, back up. God wanted to protect them from the famine that was coming. So they stayed after the famine, and everything was fine until there was a new Pharaoh. There were lots more Israelites than when they moved, and Pharaoh was afraid that they might turn against him. He made them his slaves, and they worked for him for 400 years before God did something new. God saved Moses so that he could save God's people, and now the time had come, but Pharaoh wasn't going to make it easy. God did some terrible things to the Egyptians before Pharaoh finally let them go. In fact, it was so bad that Pharaoh demanded that they leave. The Israelites, the problem was Pharaoh hadn't changed, so he changed his mind. He wanted them back. The whole Egyptian army was sent after them, and Pharaoh and all of his horses, his chariots, and his troops chased them. The Israelites were in the desert. They were following God's directions. He led them with a pillar of fire and a pillar of cloud. It would be nice to say the journey was going well, but the Israelites were already complaining, and things were about to get worse. They turned around and they saw the Egyptian army catching up with them. There was no way to escape. So God led them around in circles for a while. The Egyptians must have wondered what on earth they were doing. They probably thought the Israelites were lost and the battle was easily going to be theirs. But eventually, the Israelites came to the Red Sea. Now they were really trapped. The sea was in front of them and the enemy behind them. But God wasn't finished yet. He moved the pillar of cloud behind them and hid them from the Egyptians. In this case, it's fire, but it was really cloud. Moses and the Israelites waited for God's next direction. See, Moses had a super cool stick. He did lots of cool things with his stick. It turned into a snake twice, it brought water out of a rock, and it made some of the plagues happen as well. And God was about to use his cool stick again. He told Moses to lift up his stick beside the sea, and it built a bridge all the way across to the other side. Nah, just kidding, it didn't really. He actually parted the water so the people could walk through on dry ground with a wall of water on either side. We're just not quite that clever. It seemed the Israelites were safe, but the Egyptians were still coming. God waited till all the Israelites were safely across and the Egyptians were all in the sea.
Oh, there's feet in the sea.
Oh dear, the horse is in the sea too.
Hey, no.
So the Egyptians were crossing the Red Sea, and then God did something amazing. He let the waters come crashing back down again. The Israelites were safe. And God had freed his people. There was never a part in the story where God was not in control. And even though we don't have freedom where we used to stop, He was never part of the story where God was not in control and not working everything to bring them freedom. Even now, God is completely in control. And even though we don't have the freedom we're used to, God has given us freedom in Jesus. So we can be free from worry and live with his joy even in the hard times. So there we go. That is our story for this week. Bear with us till we move inside really quickly and we'll be right back.
Hello. So this week we have been doing an origami challenge. Now you would have just seen a couple of horses. They were trying to be part of the Egyptian army just a second ago. Here goes one that Miriam pretty much sussed out because I tried and I failed miserably. So that's our horse. But the number one origami thing that we actually did this time was the butterfly. Again, Miriam came to the party and made a very cool butterfly. Actually, she made 4 of them, 3 of them. So we got these mini ones here as well. Trying to show them, but they're... Okay, Miriam.
Okay, so the reason that we made the butterfly is that actually, in Japanese origami, it's a symbol of freedom, which we thought was kind of appropriate, considering that we were looking at Moses and the Israelites being freed from slavery and from Egypt.
So we've received a bunch of pictures from the origami challenge that we put out there. And man, were we blown away. There were a lot of good ones.
Okay, so the ones we've seen so far, I'm hoping they're here this morning, I'm not sure. We got some photos from Tanya and her family. They had made a hopping frog and a dinosaur. It was way cool. Are they here this morning? No? Okay, well hopefully we'll be able to send the photos through for you next week. We also have some from Cheryl and Khalil. I know they're here. Do you have them to show us? Awesome. So they have made a whole collection of stuff. We had some boxes and some animals. Can you tell us what you've made?
We made butterflies and boats and small to large boxes. What is this again? Blood balloons and what is that? Shell. What's this? Shell. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Those look amazing. Cool. So we've got all of our photos from last week, which were our Lego challenge. Cool. So this is Ilana's one, which she explained to us last week, and I can't tell you what everything stood for again because it's gone, but she's made a really cool cross and all of the different colors represented something different, which I thought was really fantastic. This came from Indy, Scarlett and Willow in Queenstown. Now this was technically not part of the Lego challenge, but it was so cool that I wanted to share it with you all anyway. So that was their house that they built during the service last week, with its 3 levels and super cool things going on inside. Okay, this one came from Kit and Camille. This is Noah's Ark. So we've got some animals, we've got a huge ship. They've done a fantastic job. I'm not sure I could have done half that well. I think they must have spent quite a lot of time building that one. Okay, this one is Lance's. Lance's was super cool. He's actually put a video up on YouTube of this and he's explaining how he's made it and stuff. And when I looked at the video, I discovered how incredibly cool this really is, because all of those people are built from parts of different people. So none of them started that way. He's pulled out bits of one person and bits of another person and put them all together to make just the perfect person for the Esther story. So super cool. So impressed with that one. If you want to have a look, his video is on YouTube, so go have a hunt for it. This one here is Stephen and Carlin's temple. I'm not sure what I can say about Stephen and Carlin's temple. It looks a bit like the temple. It's got a nice big wall around the outside.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Stephen?
Masterpiece.
Masterpiece. Okay, that's Stephen's masterpiece, which actually lived through the service. It didn't get destroyed until after the service was over. Quite impressive.
Nice. I'll do the video now.
Okay, and we have a video of our last one, which is from Malcolm, Melissa, and Micah, and who did I miss? Melody. They did the Walls of Jericho. Super cool video they put up on YouTube. So here we go.
God spoke to Joshua. Then Joshua told the people what God had said to them. He told the people of Israel to march around the city 7 times without making any sound. So they marched around, and on the 7th day the people shouted, and the walls came tumbling down. The Lord gave them the victory.
Fantastic. We also had one from Brendan, Debbie, Amelia, and Caleb. They built the nativity scene complete with little baby Jesus. No photos of that, but it was super cool. So here are our scores for the week. As you can see, Lance completely overdid it and beat everyone with his score of 30. Kit and Khalil came second with 25. And their third place was that video you just watched with 20 points. And tied for 4th place was Stephen and Carlin and the Watson family, who also did fantastic. So thank you for all of that. We have already planned our challenge for next week. It's going to be super cool. That's the plan. So we're following in Kit and Khalil's footsteps, and we're going to do Noah's Ark next week. So your challenge for the week is to create some kind of art thing. It can be anything from a painting to a collage, paper mache, Play-Doh, whatever you like, some kind of art piece that is an animal, or extra points if you make 2 so they can go on the ark. So there we go. There is your challenge for next week. And I think that's us.